this country are feeling the pressure. The cost of living is rising. Confidence is failing, while our government remains out of touch and tone deaf to the struggles of the people. We are here to speak plainly about the real cost of mismanagement and to present a clear path toward competent and steady leadership. To address the different dimensions of the national challenge, we have three speakers here with us today. Our political leader, Honorable Emmeline Pear, as the head of the NNP, will provide the big picture perspective, connecting the raw concerns of the citizenry directly to the current government's decisions. Also with us, our deputy political leader, former Minister of Infrastructure, Senator Nolan Cox. He will detail specific failures costing taxpayers millions of dollars. And finally, Dr. Adrian Joseph, a seasoned public administrator. Dr. Joseph will highlight the critical mismanagement of the fishing industry, specifically the recent U.S. export ban and resulting threat to thousands of local livelihoods. So folks, thank you for joining us, and I now hand over to our esteemed political leader, Honorable Emmeline Pear.
Thank you very much, Kitako, and thank you very much, Kitaka, and let me say a very warm good morning to all of our viewers and listeners, members of the media. I greet especially the Deputy Political Leader at the head table this morning, Brother Nolan Cox, and Brother Adrian Joseph, the candidate for St. George Northwest. Brothers and sisters, we are here this morning out of the cry of the people regarding the cost of living crisis. My aim today is to connect what is happening in our households and what is happening on the ground. Brothers and sisters, we are connecting that to what is happening inside of government that is supposed to serve you. I'm going to talk this morning about the cost of mismanagement. I'm going to speak to you and take my time to do so this morning, talking about the price that you are paying for the mismanagement in government. Brothers and sisters, since the NDC assumed office, we have seen a coordinated assault on the people of Grenada, homeowners and businesses alike. The government added VAT on sugar in their very first budget cycle. They increased the cost of electricity by reinstating taxes and non-fuel charges, which the NNP administration had removed to bring relief to the people. The onslaught did not end there. The government went further to introduce a renewable fuel charge on electricity. They introduced a levy and new charges on water, and more recently, added a new tariff on electricity. As the majority owner of Grenlec, the government of Grenada is a decision maker, not a bystander. They choose to let the fuel subsidy expire without considering the struggles that families face daily to put food on their table. And to make matters worse, Grenadians may soon face higher water bills as rate of water is likely to increase. When the utility costs go up, the cost of everything else follows. It is a hidden tax on your basic goods and services. By refusing to manage these core utility costs, the government has triggered a domino effect that is making life unaffordable for the average Grenadian. People throughout the length and breadth of Grenada are paying the cost of this government's mismanagement. While the average Grenadian family is being told to tighten their belts, the government is loosening theirs. The government is currently running a deficit of over $300 million, spending monies that we don't have. But look at where it's going. While all this pressure is being placed on the people, government ministers took a 150% salary increase, giving workers 12%. They intentionally adjusted the fiscal responsibility rules to cater for themselves. With a deficit of over $300 million, the government sees it fit to procure new vehicles for members of parliament and even luxury vehicles for some government officials. Can we afford the additional maintenance cost of these vehicles? And the additional monthly fuel cost capped at the low end at $72,000 per year just for government ministers. While they buy new vehicles with free fuel, they increase license fees for vehicle owners on the road, a maintenance charge. Look at the conditions of our roads. Vehicle owners are already struggling with the increased maintenance cost they are forced to pay. So yes, we know that there is imported inflation and that cost of living is increasing throughout the world. We know that. But when the very policies of your government sends a clear message of insensitivity and compounds the effects of the rising cost of living, resulting in hyperinflation, it is now unacceptable. It is unacceptable. It must never be excused, and it must never be justified. There continues to be a staggering rise in costs paid to external consultants and service providers, paying in advance, while our own local civil servants repeatedly experience delay in the payments of their salaries. Under this administration, wastage is spiraling out of control at the expense of the Grenadian taxpayer, the taxpayer who is already strangled by the rising cost of living. The government is wasting millions of dollars on projects because of poor planning and poor management. Taxpayers continue to foot the bill for this public wastage that we experience every day. Wastage that is becoming systemic and unchecked. Then there are the overrun expenditures for almost every infrastructure project, in some cases as much as 5 times over budget, like the closure project. This is the mismanagement tax that people are forced to pay, being levied on every citizen of this country. Like the Cliff project, which has taken years, still not complete, and to use the Prime Minister's words, has been unacceptably very slow. The government has moved to add $7 million to a contract of $16.5 million. That's almost 50% more to finish less than 1 kilometer of road. If this remains within the revised budget, I will be surprised. The delay in this project is largely due to the failure of the Ministry of Infrastructure, which the Prime Minister himself heads. In the time that it took the government to pave 600 meters, a child has started and nearly finished preschool. The public is being forced to pay a premium price for the government's inability to manage simple projects. When a project takes 3 years instead of 1, or costs 500% more than promised, I repeat, taxpayers pay the cost. When the government spends over $17 million on Project 500, with only 17 model units to show, taxpayers pay the bill. Meanwhile, patients at our health system are without oxygen. Some ambulances are barely functional when emergencies arise. The fire service lack adequate trucks. These are the life and death infrastructure of a functioning state. The government cannot find relief for the fundamentals. Still, it can find millions of dollars to buy new vehicles for parliamentarians, pay for the Prime Minister to rent a private house, purchasing luxury vehicles, flying around the world first class. That is a choice, and Grenadians deserve to know that this choice was made by their government. We don't expect members of the government to feel your pain, but we do expect them to do their jobs. To ignore this crisis, which is getting worse every day, is to abdicate their responsibility as a government. To let this go unchallenged would be us abdicating our responsibility as an opposition. With all these things happening, I have been watching some public conversations carefully, and I see a troubling trend where some persons who are generally defensive of the government attempting to blame our cost of living crisis on external factors, saying that government's hands are tied and that we must just simply endure the hardship. External factors are real. Let's be clear about that. Supply chains remain fragile. That is true, but do not deny this. We all know that there is imported inflation that's contributing to the cost of living, contributing to the rising price of goods and services. But let me be clear, even clearer, on what that really means. It does not mean that the government is released from its obligation to bring relief and support to its people. It does not excuse the government from the decisions it has made that have added to the external factors, making it even more difficult for Grenadians to cope. Acknowledging that there is a storm outside does not entitle you to stand on the veranda and watch along. Government warns the public. A responsible government opens the shelters. A responsible government protects those that cannot protect themselves. The question is not whether global forces are real. The question is, what is the government doing about the part of this problem that lies in their hands? And the evidence suggests that the answer is very little for the people and quite a lot for itself. Our nation is taking very little steps to address this issue. Barbados negotiated a private sector price lockdown on essential items with closely monitored enforcement. Guyana is aggressively subsidizing farmers to kill the import bill. Brothers and sisters, we cannot allow our government to abdicate its responsibility. These leaders did not wait for the world to change. They changed their policies. The NNP administration understood this. We prioritize low taxation because we believe people's money belong in their pockets, especially when there's hard times. We capped the price of gas at the pumps. We removed all taxes on electricity and reduced the non-fuel charge by 25%. We did something to bring relief. And on top of that, we left over $500 million in reserves, ensuring that Grenada will never have to face a crisis empty-handed. That is leadership. That is leadership. What is the government doing in a serious way to bring relief for the people? So when we challenge the government, we aren't asking for impossibilities. We are asking the government to do the part that is in their hand. We are therefore demanding of the government, 1, review and expand the price control list for essential food items. Remove VAT on sugar. Remove the levy on water that you have imposed, and remove VAT on electricity. None of these solutions are global. None of them require permission from international markets. They only require a decision from the Cabinet of Grenada right here at home. These simple actions can help bring relief to those who are struggling to cope. Our leaders are capable of doing more, and our people deserve better. I say to you this morning, members of the media, the listening public, when the new National Party returns to office, we would take immediate aggressive approach to reducing the cost of living. We will manage the economy with discipline. We will manage the national debt burden, ensuring that our state lives within its means, just as the people are forced to do at home. We will restore the NNP's legacy of low taxation, returning people's monies to their pockets. We will roll out more details in the coming weeks on the aggressive approach that we will take to reduce the cost of living when we return to office. Thank you.
Thank you, political leader, for laying out the broader national picture and reminding us what responsible leadership looks like. To go deeper into the infrastructural issues and the financial implications for the people of Grenada, I now invite Senator Nolan Cox.
Thank you very much, Kitaka, and let me say a pleasant morning to media personnel out there, fellow citizens, and also I think it's important to recognize our leader, political leader, and of course we have our colleague with us, Dr. Joseph, who is also a candidate for the constituency of St. George Northwest. This morning, colleagues, the whole issue of the main topic that we're looking at today is the cost of infrastructural mismanagement. That is the central theme. And today, when we speak about the infrastructure mismanagement, it's something that touches every household, every business in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And that is the real cost. We're going to look at the real cost of infrastructure mismanagement this morning. The public outcry about the state of our infrastructure has been extremely loud, and everyone can attest to the condition of our roads currently. And by his own admission, the Minister for Infrastructure and also the Prime Minister of this country has acknowledged inconsistent payments, unnecessary expenditures, and unjustifiable costs. Those are not my words. Those are the words of the Minister for Infrastructure. This is not a minor oversight. This is a confession of a failed oversight. Infrastructure projects under this administration have been consistently plagued by exorbitant cost overruns, extensive delays, even with the establishment of a new ministry of mobilization, implementation, and transformation. We're still having those issues. And when projects run over budget, taxpayers pay the difference. They pay the cost, either through higher debt, fewer services, or stall development elsewhere. But this damage goes beyond the national budget. Infrastructure mismanagement has personal costs. It has cost to businesses. It has cost to livelihoods. And for the businesses, we understand currently, with the condition of our roads, the true costs of some businesses have increased. The time it takes to get to and fro because of the condition of the roads, some persons actually give up. Some businesses have to close early because patrons can't come, customers can't come. The road is impassable at times, especially when rain falls. And so these are real issues that are affecting persons out there. So let's look at the construction industry, which really employs 1 in every 8 Grenadians, our construction sector. According to Central Statistics Office, the figures show that employment in the construction sector declined from 6,000 workers in 2024 to just over 5,000 workers in 2025, nearly a 17% reduction. At the same time, there are significant discussions, and of course, persons who have already engaged in hiring or importing labor. These have consequences. While the discussions may have some validity, there are significant consequences. What does this mean for our local tradesmen and tradeswomen? What does this mean for our young apprentices trying to enter the construction sector? What does this mean for long-term sustainability of our domestic construction market? Recently, we have heard that the government has adopted a new infrastructure policy for road construction in particular, and maintenance. And that policy is design, finance, build, and maintain. How does this impact our small and medium-term contractors? Now, this indicates a few things clearly. One, with the government approaching or using this policy, it indicates that the government have an implementation problem. It is evident. And in the words of the Minister for Infrastructure and Prime Minister, there is a problem. This also indicates that governments have a financing problem, not being able to finance these projects properly, hence asking contractors to finance it first and then pay after. This, brothers and sisters, have consequences. If you're asking a contractor to pay to finance a government road, design, finance, and maintain, this will result in a significantly higher cost to build those roads. There's also the risk in terms of oversight and the integrity of the work, the monitoring, and of course, most importantly, our small and medium-sized contractors who are not able to meet the capacity in terms of capital investment for such projects. Hence, they are locked out of those projects, and more than likely, foreign contractors are the ones are going to be doing such projects. These are the consequences of that policy. Ladies and gentlemen, infrastructure governance is about systems, it's about planning, it's about procurement, it's about oversight, and most importantly, value for money. Under the new National Party government, projects were executed through tendering processes, adhering to technical requirements, and transparent oversight. We saw major road projects, major infrastructure projects, flood mitigation projects, community projects, recreation projects that focus not only on building, but on maintaining and protecting the public investment. Today, we see those systems are significantly weakened. Shortcuts have replaced a strong structure. And in engineering, shortcuts do not save money. They cost millions. Let us consider the Molyneux Road project. You know, sometimes I smile when I reflect on this project. We had a project that is set, ready to go. You had a contractor already assigned. You have a reputable engineering firm who is responsible for oversight of the project. A professional engineering firm that was in place. This administration intervened. They dismissed the experts. They altered the design. They attempted to manage a complex slope stabilization project without properly respecting geological realities. What was the result? Instability, delays, escalating costs. And ultimately, they had to rehire the same firm that they fired to come back to simply stabilize and save this project. Tell me, this is not strategic planning. This is trial and error in governance that was paid for by you and me, our taxpayers. But perhaps one of the most concerning change happened quietly. The single source procurement threshold increased from $15,000 to $100,000. That means contracts of up to $100,000 can now be awarded without competitive tendering. And those contracts can be handed out at any constituency office. Even within the OECS region, this threshold is unusually high. It creates a space for favoritism, reduces competition, and weakens accountability. We are seeing the costly impacts of these decisions currently. Projects stretch over years. The Bailey Road, which started in 2023, multiple contractors working on a policy of day work. Contract to move debris after the hurricane. And I think this is an important information for persons to understand when we say significant cost overruns and wastage and mismanagement. And let me just give you an incident that happened. A contractor was engaged to provide services to move debris. He indicated a cost. He was told that his cost was too high. The government, in turn, engaged another contractor. Whatever cost he provided, they agreed, and he proceeded to do the work. The second contractor was engaged, hired the first contractor who was refused. And he was paid the same amount that he indicated to the government. So tell me, I want you to tell me what is happening. And that is what we're speaking about. If it was done in a competitive way, we would have had these issues. So infrastructure is not managed through press conferences or press briefings. It is managed through constant, hands-on technical oversight. That is how it is managed. And it's important for us to recognize that when it comes to infrastructure. Hands-on technical, sorry. Give me 1 minute. Sometimes technology do cause you to pause, but for good reason. As I was saying, hands-on, as I was saying, infrastructure development requires hands-on oversight. Now, I could recall in Parliament on several occasions, I made a call respectfully, in a respectful manner, indicating that the current Minister for Infrastructure and Prime Minister should strongly consider relinquishing the Ministry of Infrastructure. And I said it then, I said it now, and I firmly believe that infrastructure requires significant oversight, hands-on, that requires person to be on the ground and grounded to ensure that you look, you be there, you see results, you see reports, and what is happening now is a far cry from what is required. The demands of that ministry is highly technical. It cannot be managed part-time while balancing regional travel and international travel and multiple portfolios. When oversight is stretched thin, costs spiral. While attention is divided, projects exceed budget. While focus is elsewhere, timelines collapse. And the only transformation citizens feel is shrinking pockets. This, brothers and sisters, is not about politics. This is about good governance. So, what we are asking for, we are calling for a full forensic audit of our major infrastructure projects, an immediate return to strict competitive tendering. And I'm saying this in the context of one project currently that is happening in Carriacou, the building of the Windward Jetty. I can never recall any tendering, any advertisement. It's a highly technical project. It was only announced that a contractor is doing this jetty. We haven't heard the costs. We haven't heard when it's going to be completed. And these are the things that are happening. This is what we are speaking about. The procurement process, the procurement policy is there for a reason. We are also calling for strengthened on-site technical monitoring and full public transparency in the procurement documentation. To the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, you are paying for this mismanagement tax. You are paying for a worse outcome. You are paying more, waiting longer for results, and receiving less in value. This, we say, must stop. Infrastructure is a backbone of economic growth for this country. It supports tourism, agriculture, construction, transportation, and the business sector. When it is mismanaged, the entire country feels the strain. So we are saying we deserve better systems, we deserve accountability, we deserve value for every dollar spent that belongs to this country. We are asking for this to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cox. The reality is very concerning, and the burden is real for every single Grenadian. But the crisis does not stop on land. It extends to our seas and to the hard-working men and women whose livelihoods depend on them. To address the impact of the U.S. export fish ban and the state of our fishing industry, I now welcome Dr. Adrian Joseph.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremony and my good comrade, Kitaka. To the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, my dear comrade leader, Honorable Emmeline Pear, my colleague, Senator the Honorable Nolan Cox, a very pleasant good morning. We have heard from the two presenters before me, but for me, I want to begin from a place of responsibility and patriotism. My friends, I believe that no Grenadian wants to see a national industry fail. I believe no Grenadian wants to see workers suffer. And no Grenadian wants to see livelihoods collapse because of preventative failures. But the reality on the ground is this. Today, our fisheries sector is facing paralysis. During peak fishing season, February to June, when incomes are normally maximized. What made this crisis even worse is uncertainty. There has been no clear roadmap, no defined compliance timeline, and no structured relief mechanism. My people, this is not a minor disruption. This is a full industry. In communities such as Grand Mall in St. George Northwest, I am hearing from dozens of families who depend directly on this sector. Beyond them are the boat crews, the mechanic, small shop operators, and suppliers who form part of the broader ecosystem. The majority of those directly engaged in harvesting and vessel operations are men who are primary breadwinners and highly specialized marine skills built over decades. There are no immediate industries capable of absorbing those technical competencies. So, my friend, when income collapses, the damage is not only financial, it is psychological. It destabilizes households and entire communities, like Grand Mall. If this continues without decisive intervention, we risk turning an economic crisis into a social one. What we are saying is leadership now will determine whether this industry survives or collapses. We are saying that this industry needs special support now. We are saying that it is time the government wake up. Thank you. 5 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. Now we would like to open up the floor to the media. Everyone joining on Zoom, anyone wants to ask a question, raise your hand. Please indicate the name of your media house before asking your question. And let's proceed. Any questions, members of the media? Well, I take it that we were crystal clear in our deliberations here about the critical issues affecting our nation. If there are no questions, then I'll hand it back over to you, political leader, for some closing remarks.
So I'll close by saying this. I believe every Grenadian with a conscience fully understands what we are facing at this time in this country. Any part of this country that you go to at this time, people would say to you, the major issue that affects them is the rising cost of living. And as we've explained this morning, this cost does not have to be this high. There are things that the government can do, and mind you, some of those things that we are asking the government to do are things that the previous administration did. Simple, immediate actions that can immediately bring relief to people out there. That's all we are asking of this administration. As was indicated, a simple example is the removal of VAT on electricity, reducing immediately the cost of electricity. And what the consequence of this, what the result of this would be, is that almost every household, every business would find some relief. We're calling for reduction in charges on water. That would again bring immediate relief to every household and almost every business. We are saying to the government, additionally, you can also do a review of the price control list. There are so many things that are absolutely necessary, not vehicles. I'm talking about essential items like medication that people definitely cannot afford to purchase. We are saying review the price control list and consider adding some items so that the price would not escalate to the point that people cannot afford those necessities. We are also saying this morning that the New National Party took specific actions in crisis like COVID, Hurricane Ivan, specific measures to relieve the burden on people. And so this is our appeal to this administration. So when the non-fuel charge on electricity was reduced by 25% under the NNP administration, when the VAT was removed, those were measures taken to bring relief. Why can't this administration do likewise? In addition to that, we're appealing to this administration. While you do not feel the pain, as most people out there do, we are asking you to go on the ground, empathize with the people, identify the challenges, and take action, change policies. You cannot continue on a trajectory where the focus is on you and not the people. So this morning, our appeal to this administration is to take immediate action. But most importantly, we are ending by saying to you, we would implement an aggressive plan to reduce the cost of living for Grenadians when we get back into office. And we are going to start with those simple things immediately that we know can bring relief. So the question is it impossible to cushion the burden of the rising cost of living? Is it impossible for government to do something about the imported inflation that many people speak about? And the resounding answer to this is yes. There is so much that a caring government can do, and we're appealing to this administration to do exactly that. Thank you.
Thank you, political leader. Thank you to all the members of the media, my colleagues here at the head table, and everyone paying attention wherever you are. Before we wrap up, please remember NNP Connect continues tomorrow at St. David at 6:30 p.m. Tune in on all our social platforms. As we wrap up today, I want to say this important thing. The people of Grenada deserves a government that is transparent, they deserve a competent government, and they deserve a responsible leadership that understands that policies is not just something on paper, but it's something that should affect the lives of the people in a positive way and ensure that their lives can improve and their circumstances can get better. And the progress and the success of a government must be measured by outcomes and not just announcements and photos and videos on social media. May God continue to bless our nation, and may we continue to work together for a better Grenada that truly works for everybody. Thank you, and be safe.